Hello and welcome to the Wellness Dojo podcast, where we bring real solutions to real health and wellness problems. Today, I'm joined by my beautiful wife, Malissa, where we talk about supporting each other through our goals. We dive into our real life struggles, our life lessons learned, and how we learn to support each other better with our goals. I hope this can be a valuable episode. Let's get into it. And welcome back to the Wellness Dojo podcast. I'm your host, Malissa Craik, and today Dr. Riley, my co-host, is actually away this week. So I thought I'd bring a very special guest onto the show, my wife, Malissa. Malissa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I don't know your definition of special, but I'm here.
Special as in like there's so much love. Special, yeah.
Sure.
No, I'm excited to have you on the show. It's something we've talked about a little bit for a while, and a good opportunity to bring you on. And today we're going to talk about something that we've had a lot of experience with, which is being a couple. First of all,
What?
Yeah, over 12 years of experience with that, but also just like helping each other, like support each other with our goals. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the struggles that we've been through with trying to support each other, lack of support with each other, and just try and have a real kind of raw and real conversation around that.
Sounds good.
So you ready? We're just going to dive right in today?
Let's dive.
All right, well, where's a good place to start? What do you think?
I don't know.
I know, putting you on the spot there. How about, let's talk a little bit just about, I know like some of my goals, like we've both had lots of different goals. We've both had fitness goals, like wellness goals, weight loss, weight gain. We've had business goals, and we've had relationship goals as well. And what are, I guess, just to really quickly highlight some of the goals that we've had, what are some of the goals that you've had along the way? Business, relationship, fitness, nutrition, wellness?
Well, number one for me is always a weight loss. Just making sure that I am staying healthy and obviously looking my best.
Okay.
Yes, there is air quotations there.
Yeah.
But yeah, just making sure that I have those goals to make sure that it's actually achievable. So smaller goals, kind of to get to that final goal. Then obviously also my own career goals, stuff with the Wellness Dojo that we've got.
Your own personal
my own
career
personal,
that you have as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's kind of what I said.
Yeah.
But I mean, even just making sure that I get housework done. Like there's minor goals like that. Like today I spent pretty much half a day carpet cleaning. Like that was a goal I wanted to do, but it could be that minor or something as major as losing a bunch of weight.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because most people, I think from an outside perspective, would probably look at us and go, they must be like the perfect combination of like having like support and stuff like that, but we really have had to learn a lot, and
I was just gonna say wrongo.
We've definitely had our struggles in terms of supporting each other and finding that balance. We've had a lot of barriers, and you know, speaking of barriers, like what are some of those barriers? You mentioned one of them, like so busy lifestyle. Like sometimes like just trying to fit it all in is something that I hear a lot with my clients, but it's also something that you and I talk a lot about. We kind of joke about our chaotic lifestyle and how we do like kind of love that chaotic lifestyle, but at the same time, it does sometimes get in the way of some other priorities that might be there.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hit and miss. We definitely live a very chaotic lifestyle, and some days I wish we didn't, but other days I wouldn't change it for the world because I find we get a lot of stuff done because of it. But just knowing that we do have those kind of hectic days, setting those minor goals. Like there's no way I could clean the entire house today, but I broke it into something smaller, like the carpet cleaning. So made sure that that was done. And then I did something else that after that I enjoy is making a bunch of zucchini muffins, because my parents brought us some farm grown zucchinis.
Yeah.
So yeah, just setting small goals instead of like these huge aspirations, because I mean we couldn't clean the house in one day, but
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want to anyways.
Yeah, I think small goals is a really important thing that we've learned, is like if you set your expectation too high all at once, then it just becomes frustrating, and like the stress that we all have in our lives, you're just adding like sometimes way too much stress to a goal
Yeah.
in order to make it achievable. Like it may still be very achievable, but the amount of stress that you're adding to it, now it's like now your stress is too much to handle sometimes. And we've done that for sure, where we've been, okay, we want to get healthy or whatever, and then we set this like massive goal of like a complete lifestyle change. And it's like,
only eat these kind of foods, don't do this.
yeah, like we've done all the diets and tried all the things.
I don't know if we've done all of them.
Maybe not all of them, but yeah.
I don't want to do all of them.
That's maybe where we've found some very solid common ground. But it has been tough, and it has been a really tricky thing to navigate. But setting small goals is one thing. What are some of the other things that we've, before we talk about kind of what we've figured out, what are some of the other things that have been a struggle in terms of us supporting each other, in your perspective?
I would absolutely say communicating, and not to say that we don't communicate, but sometimes we don't communicate in the best of ways.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm
like
speculating that everybody is in the same kind of boat.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So in what ways do you think that in the past we really struggled with our communication?
Well, sometimes we're both kind of to blame, but we don't communicate at all.
I would say pretty much every time we're both to blame, and to some degree.
Not every
right?
time.
No?
No. I don't know.
That's okay. Go on. Explain. This is good. And this, like I said, a real raw conversation. We don't have to agree on everything here. What are some ways that you feel like we miscommunicated in the past?
Gosh, this is awkward.
It's not awkward. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I think that in terms of goal setting especially, some ways that we've miscommunicated is simply just not telling each other.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was like I would have a goal or you would have a goal, and like we get so caught up in the chaotic lifestyle and just the busyness and the stress of everything else that it's just like, especially when I was like working at a gym and I was away, I had like 3 different jobs at one time, where like we really hardly saw each other. So we were like, we both had these different goals and ambitions, and we hardly had time to even talk to each other, or we hardly, I should say, made time to sit down and talk about those goals. And I think for me, that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned in terms of our relationship and just our goal setting and being able to be successful with certain things. I think is just like, you actually have to tell them that you want to achieve something, because oftentimes we just assume that, like I would just assume that like, well, obviously she knows I'm trying to build muscle right now. Like how could you have known if we'd never talked about it?
Yeah.
Right? Do you agree with that? Do you think that is something that we were kind of misaligned with?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think also it's timing on when certain things are being communicated.
Yeah.
So, I guess for example, and I'll talk about myself. If I'm stressed out and busy with work and you try and come in and tell me what's going on in your day, I will not remember, because my head is here focused on this problem, not, let me split my brain however many ways and try and do it all together. Like I'd rather wait, like I guess this kind of jumps into our solutioning.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's go.
But I'd rather wait for like when we go on our walk, and then we can kind of talk about it then, because then I know I'm 100% focused. I don't have my computer or my work phone or whatever in front of me, or even if it's not work, if I'm busy with the kids and we're trying to talk, like again, there's too many other things going on and it's really hard to focus. So it's better to rather go on our walk and then have those conversations, and then it's specific, it's directive.
it's been tricky to find alignment with that timing a lot of the time too, because we work very different style careers. Whereas like for me, I'm very appointment based, where I could be super busy for 4 hours out of a day and then like a lot slower, where it's like for me sometimes I feel like I need to talk after 4 hours of appointments back to back to back with people telling me all about their lives and like really deep conversations. Sometimes I feel I need a release, and then when I need that communication, you're not in a place where you're ready for that communication. And so I think we've found real almost like debate and real conflict in that at times, where like even if I've just finished like 4 massages in a row or something, and I'm like, I want to talk to you about this goal that I have or something, which has come up, right? It was like, you know what, I just got this great idea, I finally got a chance in my day where I can talk to you about this thing, but then you're swamped meeting to meeting, and I come in and I'm like, just start talking to you about it, and you're so not ready. And then for me it feels like you're like to me it's like I don't care about that, but to you you're like, man, I just can't deal with this right now.
Or it's like you don't care,
or you don't or like I don't care because I'm now infringing on your time that you need to just focus on your work. So
yeah,
because of our lifestyles, we've found a hard time communicating and finding the right timing for that. But I think that we've really found a groove in, just simply asking each other if we're ready. Is it okay to talk about this right now? And I found that's really, really helped, and it really helps us understand each other in that moment too.
Well, and if you're not available to talk about it, like if I have something that I need to talk to you about, because there's so many times where I've called you from the office and without looking at your schedule.
You hate when I can't
and you don't answer the phone. Oh my gosh. Like, what's the point of having a phone?
Well, and that's another thing of communicating too, right? If I have like a really important appointment, or if I have a specific type of appointment, like let's say it's a new client who's a prospective client who wants to train. This happened recently where Melissa really needed me, like emotionally, you really needed me. I told you I had an appointment, but I didn't specify like the importance of what the appointment was about.
Also, when it was going to end.
Or when it was going to end. And so it ended up being a bit of a conflict at that time because I wasn't there for you when you needed me. But to me, I was like, well, she doesn't care about me trying to, grow the business. And like, it was the perfect example of miscommunication and also the perfect example of, by no means are we trying to say that we're perfect in this podcast. And by no means are we trying to give you relationship advice, but we're just hoping that you'll maybe take something from our experience that you might be able to relate to. And, hopefully maybe that could be helpful in your life too.
Yeah.
But that was something that like, just an example of that communication, the timing of that communication. Had we discussed it better beforehand, then we would have said, had you told me the way you were feeling that day and that you needed me to have a conversation, and had I told you more information about my appointment, that night would have turned out way different.
Yeah.
Right?
Instead it ended up me going for a 2-hour walk by myself.
Yeah. It was it ended up in conflict.
It wasn't great.
Yeah. And it ended up with both of us not feeling supported. Like I felt like you didn't support me in my career at that time, and you felt I wasn't supporting you
emotionally
with your emotional needs, right? And I think that's maybe something that people run into often, maybe not that exact example, but
a bit similar,
but probably similar in ways of like not communicating that goal correctly to somebody, and then having the perspective that they don't care. And that could be going both ways, right? Like trying to shift into your perspective, like afterwards in those kind of conflicts is something that's really helped me as well, to just try and like understand what that looked like from your perspective. So it's not just like poor me or this is what happened to me. It's like, well, what happened to her? Like how did this affect her? How could I have been better in that situation?
Well, and I mean, we had a conversation after. It wasn't like we had a personal conflict. It was something different.
Yeah.
Without getting into the logistics behind it, but we had a talk about it after, and we were able to see how each other felt and kind of fixed the problem and moved on.
And once we had those conversations, I at least feel like we felt more supported.
Yeah.
Like moving forwards about those things. Like it was like, hey, I definitely like I think I came to you afterwards and I was like, I think I realized like why you got so upset now, and I said, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like you really needed me in that moment and I wasn't available and I hadn't provided enough information for you to understand why I couldn't be available at that time, which again goes back to what we were just talking about of, you know, just simply asking like, hey, is now a good time? I got something I need to talk about.
Yeah.
Right. No, I'm actually really swamped right now, but if you give me 20 minutes or if you remind me when we go for our evening walk, we can talk about it. And it's like, okay, I feel supported now.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And this is kind of slightly off topic, but even something like as simple as like goals for food. We really struggled with that too. So what we ended up doing was writing our food menu. So when I was in the office or I got busy with work, at least you knew what to take out for supper because, again, we're not mind readers. I wish we were. Because if you don't know what to take out for supper because it's probably not going to be you making it, and then you take something out that's not what I had in mind, whatever. But yeah, so having that menu we put it on the fridge because it's a magnet.
Yeah.
But yeah, just having that support there too a little bit has been helpful too. So if we don't actually verbally communicate, it's still some form of communication by it being written down.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bringing in this level of teamwork as well, which I think I know from just talking with clients that this is something else that comes up a lot is it's like I want to make a change and it's like if you don't do it the way that I want to do it, you're not supporting me.
Yeah.
But we've really had to learn that with different things. Like there was a time where you wanted to do paleo and I really wasn't on board with paleo, and we had to really try and find a way to make that work for both of us.
Yeah.
There was
and the kids.
And the kids, right? So this brings a whole other layer into it.
Yeah. Well, the kids weren't ready, and I would never ever ask or expect them to, but
no, I'm not putting my kids on a diet.
It wasn't a diet.
It was.
I wasn't taking supplements and stuff. I was just eating very specifically.
Yeah.
So if you're not familiar with the paleo diet, it's basically eating from the land, so nothing that's processed. So that would mean like no bread, no processed snacks. So they're fruit gummies, they're granola bars, that kind of stuff that you can't eat it. So I would never ever expect the kids to eat that way. So we would just make the meals. I'd be a little bit more cognizant of what goes into them, but if we were having burgers, then I just wouldn't have the bun. If we went to birthday parties, I just wouldn't have the cake. But they still ate the same way. So there are ways that you can kind of make those compromises and still achieve your own specific goals. There's not that the whole family has to be on board and give up everything. Yeah,
and the way that we made that work too was, again, just talking about it and saying like...
the whys.
Yeah, like the why was really important. You're like really exploring your why a little bit deeper really helped me get on board with doing more of the paleo, right? Because I was at a time in my career as well where I was like very anti-diet, right? Because I had seen so many people rely so heavily on them and then have them not be sustainable and then feel like a failure.
Yeah.
And like I really feared that for you is where the like big pushback came from me. But once we actually talked about like why it was so important to you, like why you wanted to do the paleo diet, why you wanted to lose weight, and this is after was this after baby number 2 or was this after baby number 3? Do you remember? I think it was after baby number 2. No, it had to have been after baby number 3.
I can't remember.
I think it was this after your 3rd child, and it was like really trying to understand like why do you want to do it this way when I preach this way? Like we really had this like this butting head of like you had your way that you felt you wanted to do, and I was so passionate about doing it my way, which we see all the time. Like we see it talking to friends and family and, you know, clients and all these things where it's like one person like gets hooked on this one way, and if the other person's not on board, it's like almost like an insult to them.
Well, and also they're resisting it. Like, I mean, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I first wanted to do paleo, you did not want me to do it. Like, you were very negative towards it.
Yeah.
And I think I was pretty clear in saying that, like, I didn't expect you to do it. I wasn't really, like, this is going to sound terrible. I wasn't asking for permission, but
yeah.
I am the one who makes the food, and I'm going to make sure that if you still want to eat a specific way, you can.
Yeah. You weren't asking for permission, but you also weren't letting me in at first on the why.
I suppose.
Right? It was like, I want to do this paleo thing. And then I was like, are you sure you want to do that? And it was like, why, you don't want me to do it? And it was like, this automatically became this like headbutt.
Yeah, it was negative.
Right? Whereas what I should have said was, why is that? Well, like, why do, like, I'm on board. I want to support you, which is what I was feeling in my heart. But my head was going like, why would she want to do that? She knows that I have this more sustainable approach and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But then when we got into that, why do you want to do this diet? Why do you feel you need this? It made a lot more sense. And I'm not going to speak on your behalf on like what your why was. You can speak to it if you want to. But just having that understanding of like kind of uncovering some of those layers underneath it was really helpful for me to go, oh, it's not about the diet. It's about much more than just the diet, right? And then you're able to get on board. Like, I'll do whatever you need me to do. Like, once you get to that why, it's like, oh, I really understand how important this is to you now. I'll do whatever you need me to do. I'll support you in any way possible because now it makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've had kind of on both sides where there's been times where I've tried to, the one time I was bulky and I was trying to gain weight and I was tracking every single freaking calorie to the T, every gram of every food, every liquid, like just being super, super dialed in with that. And same thing. It was like, I'm doing this. It's like, I don't think I really gave you much of a choice in the matter. Nope. And it was like, when I was doing it, I also think that I wasn't expecting you guys to do it as well. It's certainly not the kids, but I wasn't expecting you to do it.
Please, no, I don't need to gain any more weight.
But we did get into this little bit of like, this is the way it should be done. If I want to, if you want to achieve goals, this is how you have to do it. And luckily, I've advanced much more as a coach from this point, but that was a really tricky thing as well.
Well, that was very early days for you too, like
early days personal trainer.
Very, very early days. Yeah. But I'd never ever want to go through that again.
Yeah, me either.
You're bulking with you eating your rice and beans and tuna. Ugh.
Yeah, I was getting all the protein, all the carbs.
It was not enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, it was a little bit rough. Yeah,
but I mean, I probably questioned you and said that was disgusting.
Yeah,
but I think I was supportive.
That was
without really understanding.
Yeah, I think that was the one time where, that was probably the one time where I really felt like I'm in this on my own. And like rightfully so. If you're gonna go to that extreme, like you should probably go into it expecting to be doing this alone. But yeah, that was a tough one for sure. But we also learned from that as well.
Yeah.
Like we took away from that experience of like, how we can manage me doing something like that and you doing your own thing and finding ways where, not to jump all over the place here, but the one thing that I kind of remembered about that whole experience was there was a real misalignment in values and understanding each other's values through that time. Mm-hmm. Whereas like to me it was so important for a specific reason of like I wanted to gain muscle because I wanted to I was sick and tired of being a scrawny little personal trainer, and so there was a much deeper purpose underneath like why that was so important to me. And again, I didn't really communicate that to you until like towards the end, right? And so like how could I have expected you to understand why I was going to such an extreme. And had I explained that to you, I imagine it probably would have gone a little bit differently.
Yeah, I don't think I would have been
Not saying-
making you the rice and beans.
I'm not saying you would have like
dinner.
been like, oh yeah, for sure, I'll do the same thing. But I think
No.
there would have been a little bit less friction because we did get into arguments over like, are you coming to the dinner table or are you just gonna weigh your food?
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And so had I taken the time to really explain that to you in that time, I think it probably would have gone a little bit differently where, you know, maybe we could have found some different compromises of like, okay, you dish up first, we'll dish up after, and then we can actually sit down and have a meal together.
Yeah.
Well, everybody else's food is not getting cold, like that type of thing.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough understanding around the values on why that was important.
Yeah, I agree. I think we eventually kind of learned a bit better, and I think we did, like, I don't know if I started weighing some of your food, maybe for some meals. I can't remember. It was quite a long time ago. But yeah, I would love to never ever go back to that.
Yeah, you definitely were like, we did eventually have those conversations. And like I said, towards the end, we did get into a groove of it of like, we started to understand a little bit more about why that was hard on you, and tried to make some adjustments with that of like, oh, I understand it's hard for her to like, you know, have to try like have this pressure of making sure that she cooks with, you know, what sauce is she cooking with so that I know how to track that and this and that. And so, you know, you would just cook like, I'll cook one plain chicken breast for you and the rest will have the sauces on it and stuff. And then you can add however much you want to. Like, we found little ways to work through that once we actually found some understanding in our goals with each other, I think. Yeah. But I think that's, like, you touched on it first, that communicating. I said that weird. Communicating. that
Emphasize.
Yeah. Put the wrong emphasis. But just being able to communicate with each other a little bit better, and just, I think for us anyways, it's just been really asking each other why. And like, not in a deflective way. Yeah, and no judgment, like, please help me understand this decision more. Right. I think that's been really big. Another thing was understanding each other's struggles as well. I think was a big one too. Yeah. It's like, I know for me in particular, when you're trying to lose weight after, you know, baby number 1, baby number 2, baby number 3, I always went into this like problem solving mode. Yes. Of like, I wanted to fix the problem, and I felt like I had the tools to do it because I was a coach, and I felt like I was a good coach. And so I was like, oh, I know how to fix that problem for you. Right. And that came as somebody who was pretty naive at that time, I think, of like not understanding things like postpartum depression as well as I should have, not understanding anxiety as well as I should have, not understanding or even asking more about the pressures that you had leading into these things. The pressures, like, I mean, you can speak to some of the pressures. I know we've talked before about even just like the pressure that you feel of even just me being a personal trainer. Yeah. Right? A lot. Can you speak on that one a little bit, just to help people understand kind of some of the things that I was missing along the way?
Yeah, I feel like, and this is, I mean, I know you feel the same way, and you just touched on it by not being like the scrawny personal trainer, but then you've got it on the flip side, like, oh, she's married to a personal trainer and she's not in great shape. Like, what the heck is going on? So there's always that like self-consciousness to like going to your boot camps, and I go to almost every single one. I still feel like very, very self-conscious and very careful on what I wear because I don't want to be super self-conscious. So you wear specific clothes to make sure that that's a little bit better, but I mean, it's also counterproductive sometimes too. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure just knowing that, yeah, I have a full gym in the basement. I have a husband that's a personal trainer, but that doesn't mean anything. It like is almost demotivating knowing that I have literally all of the tools needed.
So you have everything in front of you to make you feel like a failure.
Yeah, like it's not a great feeling. And yeah, then you've got it's like self-judgment too, but I don't know, maybe people are thinking it, maybe they're not, but you've always got that in your back of your, or I've always got it in the back of my mind, saying that I'm sure people are asking those questions like, geez, like maybe he's not a good personal trainer because look at his wife, so there's those kind of thoughts popping in. Maybe people aren't saying that, but that's what's going through my brain because that's how my brain works.
Yeah, we create stories that for other people through ourselves.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and I'm sure everybody goes through it, maybe not those specific thoughts, but it's hard.
Yeah. I remember I was vlogging for a while. Like I did like 100 days of vlogging. And for me, when I was vlogging, it was really great because it kept me accountable. It's like, I want to vlog those 5 a.m. workouts. I want to do that. Like, it really kept me accountable. And I remember telling you like, oh, we should document your fitness journey, and like that'll keep you accountable. Like, you remember this?
We started that. It was hell.
And then I remember one night I can't remember if we did a weigh-in. I don't think so. I think it was just a workout. But you just completely broke down in a way that I hadn't seen you do for a while. And
couldn't even finish the workout.
Yeah, and in that conversation afterwards, that's kind of when we kind of started to understand some of these struggles a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And where you kind of opened up to me about those pressures that you felt about me being a personal trainer, and how you just like constantly felt like you were letting me down, and like these types of things. And I remember stepping away from you, and I was almost in tears, because like I finally understood this like weight that you'd been carrying on your shoulders, and this pressure that you had, and like realizing how much I was almost supporting the struggle in that sense of like my idea for you was to highlight you even more when you're already feeling like all this pressure, and my idea was to put you in the spotlight, which was just crushing you.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not a spotlight kind of person to begin with.
Yeah. And again, this comes through, this struggle it gave us this opportunity.
Yeah.
So like I'm grateful for it now, but at the time I just felt like a piece of shit, because I was just making everything so much worse for you, because I never actually took the time. And maybe, I take the ownership there, but I'm sure you take some ownership with that as well.
Yeah.
Of like never taking the time to fully explain that to me as well. But we just make these assumptions, and I wanted to solve your problems for you. I wanted to make you feel better. I wanted to help you achieve your goals, because in my eyes, it's like, that'll help with the depression. That'll help with the anxiety. That'll help with the pressures and the stress and stuff like that. And so I just wanted to solve it, and I just wanted to fix it. But I never took the time to understand what, like, the right way to help you, right? And it was like, I don't know, do you want to speak to that experience a little bit before I go on? I don't want to talk the whole time.
You're doing such a good job.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know. I don't know. That's a tough question. Like the actual what we did in the journey is.
Well, even just like that experience of like finally breaking down and opening up about that pressure. Like, what kind of changes did that make for you?
Well, I don't know.
Did you feel like some of the pressure was released after that conversation?
I think so, because I mean, it's always nice when you finally have like a really good cry.
Yeah.
At least I always feel really good after I've had a good cry.
And you hold it in. Like we both do. We're both really bad criers. We both will hold it in.
Yeah. It's not very often you'll catch me crying in public.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just say that.
Yeah. We're getting better at it. Like, we're getting better at being vulnerable a little bit.
With each other,
away.
probably more than anybody else. But anyways, that's not why we're here. Yeah, it's always really, really hard. And I mean, when I opened up to you about that, I think it started off with, we were doing a video after the workout, and kind of exactly what we did kind of. And
I think the video was all about, like, that last part of the video was all about why was today such a struggle for you.
Yeah, I was. And I was literally crying on camera. So that in itself was torture. And I'm pretty sure that flippin' video is still somewhere on Facebook floating around.
Yeah, I don't think we ever posted the bits of you
remember.
actually crying. It was just like you could tell that you were upset. You could tell that you had been crying.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's like bringing back horrible memories. I'm getting very antsy, but yeah, I think once we actually spoke, it definitely seemed a little bit easier to say, like, this is not what I want to do, and this is why I don't want to do it.
That was the last. I think we ended it there.
I think we did.
It was like, to me, I was like,
and then I felt horrible because you had this idea and you were super passionate about it, and then I just like crushed your dreams.
yeah. Well, maybe I never made it clear to you at that time either, but like, it wasn't the idea I was passionate about. Like, it was you. Like, honestly, like, I was so driven to create success for you and to help you find success that I was blinded. I had blinders on and tunnel vision of like your goal was my goal in my eyes.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is how I achieve goals. This is how you'll achieve goals.
Mm-hmm.
That experience really opened my eyes to, you know, the thing that I always pushed against was there's no cookie cutter way, but that's what I was doing with you. And it came from a place of love.
Yeah.
But it didn't present that way. And I think that's a really big piece for us, is like, it doesn't matter what my intentions are unless I understand you more and we talk about the process, the struggles, the whys, the this, the that.
Mm-hmm.
Unless we understand those things, like, our intentions will never matter.
No.
You can have the best intentions for me, but if we don't talk about it and understand it together and have the same understanding about it.
Yeah. Well, and not necessarily the same understanding. It's like kind of what we were talking about before, like understanding the why. So I guess that's kind of understanding. But like, if you don't really agree with it, but I'm telling you why I want to do something, then it's easier to jump on board. But if you tell me right now to go lift some weights, I'll punch you in the face.
Yeah, luckily we're some distance between us here, so yeah, microphones in between us. I'm getting nervous. I'm sweating a little bit here now.
Come on.
Yeah. No, I think you're 100% right, and that was very well said. It's again, we're kind of circling around this thing of like understanding the why, but I think that's just been so crucial for us, is like really understanding each other's why, no matter what it is, whether it's business related, like, hey, I want to take on this new business venture. Let me explain. Now it's like, we're at a place now where we're like, let me explain to you why. Like, we don't even, oftentimes we don't even have to ask anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was just going to say too, it's not even just each other understanding our whys. It's me understanding my why first, so I can actually explain that to you. Because if I just say I want to lose weight, like, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, why?
And at that time, do you feel you understood it fully?
No, and I think that's why I wasn't fully committed to any of the solutions either, is because, like, everyone wants to lose. Well, not everybody, but
it seems like everybody.
The majority of people want to lose weight.
Everybody cares about how they look.
Yeah,
and there's nothing 100%. Wrong with that.
Like, some people want to gain weight, but why? Like, we're all different, and we're not made to be the same no matter what. So why?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, that for us has been a game changer. Yeah. And so you mentioned like going to boot camp and those types of things. What is it about going to boot camp now that, like, what is it that makes you so committed and so consistent with it? Is it understanding your why better?
Yeah, it's understanding the why, and also just having a good group of people that's there to also kind of help and support. Like, again, maybe they might not have the exact same goals as me, but they're supportive and non-judgmental. Like, I've never gone to boot camp being like, I hate this, why am I here?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice just having also that camaraderie too.
Yeah. It's important to find something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Right? And like, if I was, the old version of me and saying, like, I'm going to get you to your goal, like Coach Kyle, that I put that coach hat on and took the husband hat off, like, I would probably be telling you, like, if you want to lose this goal and you want to lose it by this time, like, you need to be lifting weights at least 2 times a week. So take 2 of those boot camp days out, then make sure you're doing weight training 2 of those days, and then go to boot camp the other 2 days. Like, that would be what I was telling you. But now that I understand your why a little bit more, and that you kind of like, I mean,
and what I actually enjoy doing too. Yeah,
your why, what you enjoy, those types of things. I understand now that I don't need to be in the driver's seat for you.
Yeah.
Right. I think a lot of people see their significant others maybe struggling with weight or with health, and they want to get in that driver's seat. But like, what we've learned with each other is that I will never be able to make you something.
No, because again, I'll punch you in the face.
I'll never be able to make you leaner. I will never be able to make you skinnier. I will never be able to make you eat a certain way.
It has to be my choice. Like, it has to be I want to do this because I want to do this because of this.
Yeah.
Not because you told me to, or not because somebody else told me to.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of a name.
But until I was willing to, like, give you the assist, you were always finding resistance.
Yeah.
Right? Until I was able to, like, step back and be a team player instead of trying to lead you. Like, I don't think, if I was still doing that, I don't think you'd be going to boot camp right now.
No.
Right?
No.
Like,
if you were telling me I had to go to boot camp, I wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Unless I was in a spicy mood and decided I'm just going to go there.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you'd be going no matter what. If I was telling you, like, you have to go to boot camp, I really don't think you'd be going.
I wouldn't.
No. And, like, let's be clear, like, even during that time, it was never like I was saying, like, you have to do this. Like, I was never, like, trying to be the boss of you or anything like that. But I was strongly indicating that this is the way you should do it.
Yeah.
And you being somebody who was feeling very, very vulnerable and broken at that time, like, you were like, well, I guess that's the way that I need to do it. Right? But I think you did kind of, like, look to me in that way of, like, well, I guess I should do this because he knows what he's talking about. But even if I knew what I was talking about and I knew that would get you the results, as your spouse, as your partner, as somebody who loves you and cares about you, I had to learn to really how to love you and care about you in that moment and not just coach you. Then, well, that's probably difficult for us because I am a coach for a living. I think it probably, I would imagine, resonates with a lot of people as well, where they're like, even somebody who isn't ready to commit to something, but their spouse is. Like, if we're in a different place in life, we've run into that too.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, even just looking, again, going back to our career paths, like, you're self-employed. I work in the corporate world. They're 2 very different things too. So, I mean, we often kind of run into that kind of discussion per se. But, I mean, I'm also pretty involved in the business as well. So, obviously I understand it, but there's times where it is super frustrating. Yeah. When you're answering clients at like 9 or 10 o'clock. I'm like, can you just not? Like, can we just be together for this, like, 1 hour before bed?
You're disrupting our relationship goals right now.
Exactly.
Right? It's like, and I'm like, hey, me taking that time right now is disrupting my business goal. Yeah. And it's like, again, coming together and colliding. And it's like understanding, like, okay, how do we get on the same page here? Yeah. Well, it's through having conversations about how do we get on the same page here? And so many times we didn't want to have those conversations because we were afraid it was going to just blow up, right?
Well, and I mean, I'm not going to say that has ended perfectly. I mean, it hasn't ended because we still have those conversations. I'm pretty sure I said something like that just last week.
Well, I mean, we still have conversations and we have to walk away from them sometimes and come back to them later. But another thing that I think we've started to do that has started to help us get better at these conversations. Again, we're not talking like we're the perfect couple or anything by any means, because we're absolutely not. But just by sharing some of the things that we have learned, I think another thing that I've really learned is that we can have conversations that don't end well, and then we can go back to them and reflect on them. As a team, we can say, well, that didn't go very well, did it? Next time we have a conversation like that,
let's try this again.
How can we make that go better, right? And we've done that. Like, we've had arguments that, going back to your example from before, when you went on the 2-hour walk without me, and you know, that was a rough night. Like, I was worried about you. You were, you know, just emotionally kind of broken that night. And it was like, once we stepped away from that, and I brought you a glass of wine. Actually, I think I brought you a beer that night.
It was great. It was the best beer. Yeah.
It was like, hey, I'm sorry, first of all, for how tonight went. Let's talk about, like, what you needed from me more from that, and what I needed from you more. Like, basically, like, next time we're approached with a situation like this, how do you need me? How do I need you? And we're slowly 12 years slow, we're slowly learning, like, how to be better for each other, right? And it all goes towards this thing of, like, the conversation we're having today around how do we support each other better. These are the things that we've learned to support each other better, and like, a lot of it centers around just better communication.
And we've kind of looped the kids in with some of it too. So at dinner time, or sometimes after dinner, if they're a little bit too distracted, is what's your good thing and what's your bad thing? I know some people say, what's your rose and what's your thorn? But basically, what's something that went really well and what's something that went kind of badly for you in the day. So we're trying to create those open communications as well with their kids, and allowing them to be a little bit vulnerable by saying their bad thing. A lot of the times it's somebody fell playing soccer.
Scraped my knee.
I can't remember some of the other examples, but it doesn't matter. Like, that's not
Jimmy didn't pick me first, and all these different things.
But it is important to have whoever's in your life, if it's a friend, if it's a spouse, if it's a child, even a pet. Obviously they can't respond, but just having that verbal outlet somehow is very helpful. And it kind of does, like, when we're saying our positives and negatives for the day, like, I'll tell the kids that I had a very stressful day at work, like, so they're understanding that, okay, now is probably not the best time to be messing around at dinner because mom did have a stressful day. We don't, like, we really try not to put those onto our kids. No, like, but we're still, like, understand. We're still there and present for them for the most part, but we're also human.
They understand. Like, we just is like that episode of Bluey that we just watched where it's like, the mom just needs 20 minutes. It's like, mom just needs 20 minutes, right? It's like the kids understanding that, like, sometimes you just, like, one thing I always say to the kids, you know, if they're not doing it, I'll say, you guys kind of got to read the room a little bit here. Like, mom's a little stressed right now.
Hey, now you too.
Just read the room, right? But we have to do the same thing with each other. It's like, we kind of have to, like, read the room. We have to kind of try and feel each other out, understand each other a little bit. Is now the best time to bring up my new goal that I have that I'm so excited about? Like, maybe it's not the best time.
Verbal diarrhea.
Maybe there's a better time to bring this up. One other thing that I wanted to mention before we sign off here is the idea of, like, you have to do what's right for you. And with zero expectation of anybody else coming on board, right? That's something that you've really taught me as I've really grown up and even into my adult life as like very much a people pleaser, right? I think it's why I do what I do. That's why I got into it. I think is just this wanting to help people, but really in an unhealthy way at times. It's been wanting to be a people pleaser. You are kind of the opposite of that, and not in a bad way, but like you'll do what's right for you, and like, you know,
I wasn't always like that though.
Yeah, like you've had some life experiences that have really kind of toughened the outer shell up, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, it's not that I don't want to help people, but yeah, like,
no, and that's not what I was trying to say either. It's more just like you take full ownership of like, I need this for me right now, and it doesn't matter who's going to support me, who's not going to support me. I'm going to do it. Yeah. And like watching you do that in so many different ways, you know, there's been times where I haven't supported a goal that you were looking for because I didn't agree with it, or I thought it was going to create too much strain, and you were like, I'm going to do this anyways, and you do it, and it like inspires me because you did it. And then afterwards I'm like, man, I should stand up for myself more in certain situations. Like, you've really pushed me to stand up for myself in certain situations when I wasn't. And we've really started to understand that, like, okay, when she's really passionate about this, I'm just going to let her go. Yeah. Like, you go, you do it. Like, you go, girl. And like, if I don't want to do it, then that's okay. Yeah. Right. And it's understanding that and going like, hey, I'm going to work until this time tonight because it's really important that I get this project completed or whatever. And it's like, I don't expect you to come and help me or to sit there with me and support me in that way, but I'm going to do it anyways. And like, having that understanding with each other as well is also really helpful. Because like, I don't have an expectation that you have to be there every step of the way for me and do exactly what I'm doing.
No, but yeah, like you said, just supporting. Like, I mean, slightly off topic, but even today, like, I had some deliveries that I had to do, and you came along for the ride, which I always appreciate because I know again, we both have busy lives, so for you to come and kind of sit in the car and just have that time again, that it was just me and you, that we could kind of have that conversation and just that time together is invaluable.
Yeah, it's well, I'm glad I enjoyed the time together, even if it is delivering orders and doing all these different things, but also knowing that if I decided, hey, I'm actually going to stay home because I, you know, got to get some work done, or I just want to spend time with the kids right now or something like that, knowing that that's going to be okay. Like, you're not going to feel shafted or something like that. Again, because we've had these conversations of, you know, do you need me to go with you? Like, is it super important? If it's important to you, I'll come. Yeah.
But sometimes it's also nice to have that, like you said, the one-on-one time, or like
the alone time.
Yeah, just me time. Like, we've love alone time.
Yeah, we had that conversation the one time. Melissa was getting up early in the mornings and going for walks. We were kind of prepping for the new puppy we just got. And the one morning, I think the night before, you were a little bit frustrated that I didn't come with. And then the next morning I was like, okay, I'm going to get up. And you had like kind of left, and I like caught up to you, and you were like, I was actually kind of just wanting alone time this morning. Like, and I was like, oh shoot, like, you should have told me you wanted alone time and I wouldn't have come. I was like, if you want alone time from now on, like, I won't join you on these walks. Like, that's totally fine. Yeah. And it was like, we actually had a better understanding of each other from that. I was like, okay, like, I'm going to make sure that, like, she doesn't want alone time before I just like tag along, because I think that's what she wants.
Or vice versa. Like,
or vice versa.
Yeah. Like, if you, I mean, everybody, I think everybody likes to have that space where they could just be by themselves and like be with their thoughts. And I think it's super important to do that. Like, you have to do that, I hope.
I think
I thoroughly enjoy it.
I think it's important that everybody has a little bit of that time to themselves.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, it's good to have social interaction, but it's also really nice to be with your own thoughts. And I find that I think so much better. Yeah. And kind of solve my own problems in that sense, because there's no other distractions and noise happening. Yeah.
And sometimes we come back then and have a better conversation afterwards. Yeah, we enjoy our time together better, right? So.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, this wasn't so bad.
No. Yeah. Take 2. Better than take 1.
Yeah, we tried this before, full disclosure, and the audio had
Got out.
Yeah, the
Got
audio
out.
had some problems. So this is take 2, but
We
it's
did
good.
it.
We actually talked about different things this time too. So
Yeah, I
it's
think this
good.
is
It's
better.
good, real conversation. It was
High five.
yeah, that's awesome. I really appreciate you coming on the show. I know it's not your. I'm not gonna say it's not your favorite thing to do, but I know it's stepping outside your comfort zone a little bit during this.
That's why we have wine.
That's why you got wine. I got some rum going here, just a little evening spirit. But
There we go.
I want to say thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I love you so much.
Love you too.
Okay. Thanks for coming on, and thank you everybody for joining us on this episode. I hope it was valuable for you, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
For additional support or to work with one of us one-on-one, go to our website www.wellnessdojo.ca. You can also find us on Instagram at Wellness Dojo YYC or on all other social media platforms searching The Wellness Dojo. We'll see you in the next episode.